welcome to my garage. I'm going to start this video a little bit differently by showing you the finished product at the beginning. One live-edged Brazilian pine platter. You've seen me turn this 3 different times, 3 different ways. It's 1/2 inch thick, live edge obviously, stands about 1 inch, almost 1.5 inches tall off the ground, just enough room for your fingers to pick it up off the, get underneath and pick it up. Inside this ring is 12 inches even, but it goes from anywhere from 16 inches to 14 inches wide depending. But the whole goal of this, turning this beautiful piece of very unique wood from Brazil, was to expose as many of those branches as I can. This is very soft pine, but those branches are very hard and colorful like marble. Just absolutely smooth and crazy hard. And the colors in there are beautiful. There's my little logo. There's in the middle, the pith turns to dust in this type of wood, so in the middle it's epoxy, as well as filling some of the cracks. But the whole purpose of this platter was to expose as much of those branches and as many of those colors in that marble-like surface as I could. Obviously started with the bottom, finished with the inside. So this is going to be a crazy long video showing the entire process for those that are interested in the wood turning aspect of this. But I just wanted to start this video a little bit differently, show you the finished product, say hello on Mother's Day, and leave it up to you if you want to watch the whole thing or not. All right, take care. Hey everyone, welcome back to my garage. It's been quite some time since I filmed anything, but my cousin and his family gifted me this beautiful piece of Brazilian pine late last year, and it's finally time for me to do something with it. So I figured this piece of wood's worthy of filming again. Just a little bit of backstory. This is the variety that I'm talking about for Brazilian pine right here. I can't pronounce that, but it's a cousin of Norfolk Island pine, close cousin of Chilean pine or monkey puzzle. But it's a very interesting wood, and this will be my 3rd time turning it. I'm going to set this up on the camera stand so I can describe a little bit more. All right, I got the camera set up so I can explain a little better. It's a pretty large cross-cut section, end grain turning. The pine is obviously very soft and will be porous. The branches, very hard, like marble, very colorful. That's where all the beauty is. Not sure how old these are, but the pith kind of rots away into a dust as it dries, so filled it with resin along with the cracks that I'll show you. But the first turning I did, I kept it live edge in this orientation, turned the bowl out from here. Obviously a lot of the beautiful branches get turned away. The second one was more round, so I actually made it a true bowl and did not leave a live edge to the sides, and turned it in the same fashion. This time I'm going to do it completely opposite. Flip it over. You can see there's some huge gaps and cracks that go down to the pith, and so all that got filled with resin months ago. And then I spent some time with Sandiflex getting that nice and smooth, and I'll obviously sand this again later as I'm done. But I put a faceplate ring on here because it's oblong. It's not even going to fit on my lathe. I'll have to do outboard turning to get this done. But I got a faceplate ring on, so it'll be a good connection. So I'm going to do the orientation backwards. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to look. It's going to be a lot thinner than this. Because I want to expose as much of the branches as I can. It's going to just have a little bit off on the bottom. I'll obviously be turning an end grain recess, which is tricky, but it's more of a plate, so there'll be plenty of room. But I won't be taking too much off the bottom here, just enough to get your fingers in. Then I might even be bringing this down to about this level. We'll see as it turns out. The bowl will obviously come out from the middle. It might end up as more of a plate, but both of the other ones I did was in this orientation, one live edge, one not live edge, one more of a traditional bowl. This one I definitely want to keep the live edge, just want to change the orientation and flip it around. And again, the whole idea is to expose as much of the branches as possible, because that's where the true beauty in this piece of Brazilian pine lies. Anyhow, that's enough talking. Let me get it mounted up and get going. Took me a minute to get this set up. Took a bunch of my son's weights. It's a 200-pound sandbag. Mounted outboard. And I'm barely turning, not even 450 RPMs. It was walking across my garage here. Got the baseball game on. Finally ready to start turning this thing. So let's get going, see what happens with it. It's gonna look bad because it's end grain, at least to start, right? Yeah, tear out the stuff. Just gotta get this level, opened up. Just keep working it slowly and surely. All right, I'm back. This stuff is dusty. But anyway, you didn't need to see me going back and forth, leveling this bottom out. Obviously, I was just getting it close. There's a lot of stuff to fix later, like right there, but it's no big deal because that's going to come off. So I marked out for a 3 7/8 inch recess, and then I put a couple lines somewhere around here. One of these lines, I'm going to angle it up, like I said, so I can get a finger in there. I'm going to, from a 1/2 inch, I'm going to take about just, 1/2 inch off the sides and meet at one of these 2 lines. See what looks right. I might start at this line, obviously, because you can't put wood back on. And if it doesn't look right, it'll come to this line. So it'll be a recess, 1/4 inch deep, dovetail, right? It is end grain, so it's not the best thing to do, but that's the way it's got to happen with this bowl. Then I'll meet on the bottom 1/2 inch to the side to one of these 2 lines. That'll be the slope to get your fingers underneath the bowl or the plate. And later, when I flip this back around after I do the inside of the bowl, I'll come back and get rid of this recess and leave a nice bottom to it too. But I want to see what looks right first, so yeah, it'll come just to about here, so I can get your fingers underneath, and then we'll flip it around and start working on the meat of the bowl. I just wanted to give you a quick update, and I'll bring you back as I start making this recess. Still gotta clean that up a little bit. Yeah, 3 7/8. Gotta clean that bottom up. 5/16 inch deep. It's funny. As soft as the pine is, this stuff is so rock hard. I might turn around and go this way a little bit, and then at the end come in to keep the edges kind of smoother. Yeah, just got to keep working it little by little. We'll bring it back as we make progress. I've been doing some more work on the bottom off camera. There's the storm's getting ready to blow in, trying to beat the rain, so I haven't been filming too much. I got some tear out I gotta fix, but everything in here, obviously this is my recess. This will get turned off at the end, but I still have some more work to do obviously up here. But this is my little bead, little bead where the bottom of the bowl rests. Like I said, this piece will get turned off at the end after I do the inside. So now I'm gonna get my bowl gouge out and just clean up the rest of this coming from this direction to meet just before my bead, and then I'll be able to start sanding the bottom, fixing all this. Hopefully my bowl gouge fixes some of this tear out. Yeah, getting closer. I got the speed up just over 500, but it's shaking too much. Yeah, gotta get cleaner passes. It's hard turning this slow. It's so unbalanced. It's really hard to get good clean cuts turning this slow. Just gotta keep taking my time, see if I can get it right. A little bit more to clean up. For whatever reason, I was looking back at my old videos. I gotta fix this end with the bowl gouge again. But the scraper, the negative rake scraper and my skew chisel do a good job of getting a good surface right in here. Still some sanding, but it's coming along. I think one more pass from the outside with my bowl gouge and should be about there. I think that's about it. It's just going to be a lot of sanding. Get my mask off and shut off this phone. All right. Sanded 120 to 600. Pretty, it's glass. The pine looks a little funky. There's no tear out, just the way the pine looks. There's a couple lines here and here where the resin didn't get all the way down into those internal cracks. But overall, looks really good. Glass. The fire in these branches just as I remembered it. And like I used the coffee color resin. So I sanded just inside. This is the ring that the dish or the bowl will stand on. Sanded just inside to here. in here. Everything, whenever I get this turned out, obviously this recesses so I can work on the other side of the bowl, but then I'll flip this back around. If it will even hold. I've been having second thoughts about that. It is end grain, so it might be weird pushing this up against a jam chuck with the grain orientation. Might just push right through, right? Especially with the resin in the middle. So I might just take a grinder and just sand this off. But everything at the end, I'll remove this piece and sand everything perfectly flat on the bottom. But other than that, at the very end, the bottom of the bowl is done. I'm gonna finish it with Mahoney's walnut oil when I'm done. I can't get the velocity with this being unbalanced to use Axe abrasive paste, the wax. So I'm just gonna use Mahoney's walnut oil on this. But this is sanded to 600. Backside's done for now until we come back to this to turn the recess off. Next step will be flipping this around. See if I can bring the camera over here. I took about, let's see, I don't know if this will show it. I took about 3/4 of an inch. So it's a little more than I was anticipating, about a 1/4 inch more as I was anticipating. But I'm gonna bring this down, because I'm not interested in the pine. I'm gonna bring this down about halfway and then make my little dish from there. But we'll get to that later as I flip this around. Just wanted to show, other than removing the recess at the end of the project, backside's done. Pretty nice. Okay, I'm back with the piece flipped around in the recess in the 4-jaw chuck. Just wanted to show. There it is. And it turns out, as I was taking that faceplate ring off, it was just enough to get my fingers in, so it wasn't too much. Even though it felt like I was taking too much off of it, it wasn't too much. Anyhow, I'm going to start working this down. Like I said, about half of it. Won't make you watch all of it, but just gotta get this work down to about the plate bowl size that I want, taking away some of this pine thickness and resin, and then I'll bring it. I'm not going to make you watch all that, but I'll bring it back as I start turning the inside bowl. Still, because of the imbalance, I'm still turning at 466 RPMs. It's just going to be a lot of that. Like I said, I'll bring it back as it gets more interesting. But this pine is just so dry and dusty. It's time for me to get a mask on. Take this mask off. Just showing you a little update as I work this down. Get a 1/4 inch to 5/8 inch at a time. We'll bring it down to, like I said, about 1 inch thick. Just so I got it right above the branches. But man, this stuff is something else. Brittle, just falling apart. So you want to work with end grain, soft wood like pine. That's what you have to deal with. What a mess, huh? That's where all that dust comes out of, just that open, porous grain. But believe it or not, when you see it at the end, I'm gonna make this look good. this mask and face shield off. See how we are? There we go. See, that's gonna be much better. This is where I'm being rough, right? By the way, all this stuff, getting this material out of here, that's why I had such a big, strong recess, right? So it would hold up to this abuse. Anyway, I still got more obviously to take out of the middle, but I just went through with my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. See, I'm almost down to the branches here. And obviously there's still some more tear out, but I'm to a better wood, got a better cut. Gonna be much easier to sand. You'll see, I got this thickness down to just where I want it, just above the branch. So I'll have it, the red branch exposed on the bottom and then on the inside. So this will be, what, 3/4 of an inch thick, natural edge on the outside, nice crisp edge. A nice crisp edge, and then I'll dig this in and make a bowl out of it. But yeah, this stuff can be hogged away. Just wanted to make sure I had a nice solid outside rim, kind of sloped in with a decent cut. Yeah, there's still cleanup, but at least it's clean surface, no tear out here at the natural edge. Yep, just moving forward, looking good. Sorry if I don't have you in the right setting. Moving you around a little bit. All right, I'm gonna stop right here. I finally got most of that pine hogged out. Obviously, you can see the branches starting to show up, which is where I want to start taking my time. I was just roughing this down, as you saw, so it wasn't taking my time. You see tear out and so forth. Kind of decent cut, and I used my bowl gouge about there. But I'm stopping here because I'm busy for about a week. Won't be able to get to this for a while, so I'm gonna clean up. Think about how I want to design the inside of this bowl or plate to match with this outside, right? Like I said, we got 3/4 inch thick, but I don't want the whole dish or plate to be that. I just want that to be the natural edge, and I'm going to go in and do some kind of design for the inside of the plate or dish or bowl, whatever you want to call it, and expose as much of those red branches as I can. So like I said, I'll be back in about a week when I'm finally free to start turning again. I just wanted to get this part of the job, which was kind of just messy, get this taken care of so I can come back and focus on nice cuts and the design of the inside. So when I do come back, I'll be sure it's with sharpened tools. You can see some of the branches were smaller, but this is exactly what I was looking for. So everything I do on the inside will expose as much of this branch, hopefully all the way to the pith as possible as I turn this down. I just have to remember that I do have a 5/16 inch recess going in. And then that'll get turned away at the end, obviously, like we talked about. But just wanted to show you my stopping point. Doesn't look pretty right now, but it will. I'll be back in a week to figure out how I'm gonna do the final design of the middle of this bowl or dish. Have a good night. Well, it's been a week. I was coming out to do some more work on this platter. Started feeling around and decided to take it off the lathe. I don't know if the camera will pick it up or not. Let me see if I can find a couple. Right there, right there. And what worried me the most, I don't know if this will show it, from here all the way through here, small hairline cracks. This was as dry as wood as I've ever turned, so I can't believe there was moisture left in there. The weather's changed a lot and there's been more moisture in the air, but it's another little crack I feel right there. Moisture's changed in the air a lot, or it could be just I was too rough with it, hogging the inside of this out a little bit, getting it down to size. I don't know. I did something wrong, obviously, and it is end grain, right? So it's not the best thing to use for a recess, but I don't want to risk losing it later, so I took it off the lathe. I'm gonna, this part that I sanded, I'm gonna cover with sanding sealer and then just load up any cracks I see with CA glue. And then when I get it back on the lathe and finish, obviously I still have the whole inside of the bowl to turn. That's what I marked out for 12-inch inside of that plate when I get to that. But when I do that, I'll take my time, do it real carefully. But then when I sand the inside, I'll sand everything on the outside again to this rim. And then when I take it off the lathe, I'll use the grinder to work this down and finally sand the bottom. But just want to be sure I don't lose it after all this work. I'll be much more gentle moving forward. But yeah, when I saw this little hairline crack that ran from there to there all the way to the center, I figured it was time to get it off the lathe and get some CA glue in there. So it's a good thing I noticed before I started turning again. Anyhow, bring it back in a day or two when I'm ready to finally get back to this again. Finally back to it, freshly sharpened tools, turning at 525 RPMs. Trying to establish them. I decided to take this down to a 1/2 inch thick natural edge. And then I'll go in deeper, much deeper in this 12 inches in here. I think one more pass, get rid of some of these lines. Can be sanded out, but I want a better pass than that. One more pass before I move on to here. Hopefully it'll all hold together for me. All right, I'm done with the edges. I got the 1/2 inch natural edge I wanted. I just couldn't get the surface at the very extreme ends with the tear out. So it's just going to be a lot of sanding. And I have some gluing. There's a couple of those cracks where the CA glue from the bottom didn't come through to what'll be the top. I was going to do a little design here, but I think I'm just going to take this down and go inward. We'll figure it out as I go. I will be taking this off the lathe again though. We're adding sanding sealer and CA glue so I get the top side of all those cracks that I got on the bottom earlier. It'll be a lot of that boring stuff until I get it down, exposing, obviously, that on the inside. We'll bring it back as I get closer. another stopping point. I'm working my way down, and I don't know if it'll show it through here. Obviously, I got a lot of work to do on that surface. It's coming along, coming to be more of a place, but I'm not gonna lose this, so I gotta get this off the lathe, do some more sanding sealer. Let me get this light back in. Do some more sanding sealer and fill cracks again. See if I can show you it starting to open up. There you go, perfect. Even where I filled it yesterday, man, I don't know, this wood, where the resin didn't get in there, and whatever new cracks have developed, yeah, I just can't risk losing it. You can see that crack spread too. So I'm just gonna get it back off here. You can see it's coming along nice. But yeah, just gotta fill it with glue, get it back on here tomorrow. Have a good night. Well, it doesn't look very good right now. It's gonna be a lot of sanding. And I got everything glued up that I could find. Sanding sealer is underneath it, so it won't stain, but hopefully all that CA glue will hold it together, because we're almost there, getting in the home stretch, so just need to hold it together one more day, get this final thing turned. Gonna be a shit ton of sanding, like I said. Look at all that tear out. I just got to be very careful. These cracks keep opening back up on me. I got to get one good pass of the bowl gouge, and then it'll just be a bunch of sanding. But I kind of wanted to depress it from here to here, but I'm about as thin as I can go. So I think one more pass of just some more CA glue and a bunch of sanding to get this looking good. All right, it's still not pretty yet. That's about as good as I can get it because I got full-on cracks that are opening up. Obviously, it's a little bad right there. You can see there's a little pock mark, so I'll fill that with dust and CA glue. But other than tool marks, it's not horrible. I just have to start with 80 grit, and this will be sanded, so it's just a slight little slope from here to the odd shaped rim, right? But just over 12 inches for the plate, nice and smooth slope. It's very thin down at my recess. So yeah, I think I'm gonna hit this with 80 grit and then sanding sealer again, more glue to make sure all these cracks are full, and then I'll go back through all the grits and give it a good sanding. But as far as the turning, I think that's gonna do it. It's just gonna be a shit ton of sanding, like I said, and then grinding on the back. But at least it held together. On to the next step. Alright, hope you can see that. Looking a lot better. Just hit it with 80 grit. Got off all the old glue. Obviously sanded through the sanding sealer. Took care of just about everything. There's that one pock mark left. No tear out. Some more lines I can get here on the edge, but I'm gonna get this off the lathe again, yet again. Throw some sanding sealer on it and fill this big crack that had me worried the whole time. Any other little cracks I'd find, and this large one right here. And then I'm gonna start back at 80 grit and sand all through the grits. At least we're looking good now. At least you can see the home stretch. This will turn out good. Alright, I'm going to stop here for tonight. I just used my 180 grit Sandoflex to touch up the outer rim, and then my 320 flap sander. Just to touch up that, after all that work, that 1/2 inch natural edge to this plate. Wanted to touch that up. So the inside cleaned up, all the cracks were filled. Sanded it all off. Despite putting the sanding sealer on, it did stain a little bit, which you can see right there. But I just sanded 80 grit inside and out. Well, to this rim right here. I'll take care of the inside at the end. But sanded the outside, cleaned off all the glue, everything in the inside. And then I just wanted to touch up the natural edge, which I just showed there. I'll come back another day and sand this up to 600. This is going to be a crazy long video. I'll see what I can do with the editing to knock it down a little bit, but I won't show it. But I'm going to sand up to 600 grit inside and out to this, just around this ring, and I'll do that off camera. Then I'll come back, take this off, and work on grinding out this base, and then that'll be the last step, sanding the bottom flat. All right. Anyway, looks a lot better than it did. Just wanted to share this with you. All right. Have a good night. All right. Our platter is sanded. Look at that. Colors came out beautifully. The other day, what did I do? I did 80 grit inside and out, right? Just to work it down a little bit. And then I used the 180 Sandoflex wheel on the live edge outer rim, followed by the 320 grit flap sander just to take care of the outside. Today I went a little overboard. I ended up using 8 more grits, 120, 180, 240, 320, 400, 600, and I just kept going, 800 and 1,000. So all the way up to 1,008 grits, because it just looked beautiful. So what I wanted to do, I mean, the branches weren't completely uniform, but I brought them out as much as I could front and back, and you just see the fire, which is absolutely gorgeous. 4, 5, and you can barely see the 6th one right there. You got to be very careful sanding. It's a process, because it's soft pine end grain and then really hard marble-like branches. So you got to go frontwards and backwards. I was turning at about 228 RPM front and back, just being sure not to create any depressions on the soft wood. But yeah, I'm absolutely really happy with this, how it came out. Beautiful. That's why I went a couple extra grits into it. It's like, why not? let me move it around and see if I can show you the back. There's the live edge on the plate. Light back here. I sanded through the rim, the same up to 1,000 grit. Just came out beautiful. Those same branches, what is it, 5 branches, and there's that one that barely evened out and showed on the other side. But I exposed as much of that as I could on front and back. So really happy with how that turned out, and it held together, which is great. So hopefully I don't screw this next step up, but in a couple days I'm going to take this off the lathe. I'm going to use the grinder to take down this what I was using as a recess as much as possible. Get it as close as I can. Not gonna risk anything if I don't have to, but I'll get it as close as I can. Then I'll bring it to the drill press and just sand the bottom of this bowl as close to flat and as the curve that I created here is possible. But that's the part that is gonna worry me. I'll clamp it down somehow and try not to screw up all this work I've done. But I gotta get this out of here. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was quite a lot of work being end grain, and unlike the other 2 pieces I did of this species, this one was just more difficult with the cracking for whatever reason. Bring it back to the front. It's not flawless. You see the resin that I used at the very beginning. Resin gets in a bunch of the cracks. But unfortunately, despite all the precautions I took using sanding sealer, you can still see this was the crack that was happening to me, if you remember back in the video when I had to keep stopping and turning it. And yeah, I guess because it's end grain, you can see the glue staying there, glue staying around my resin, even right here. So unfortunately, you get some of the glue stains from the CA glue, which I had no choice, to hold it together. But on a side grain, putting sanding sealer down before the glue works in terms of eliminating that staining. I guess it doesn't with end grain, but live and learn. Anyhow, it's gorgeous. So I'm glad I went the extra couple grits, took it up to 1,000. It's a beautiful platter. I'm not going to show you the grinding part, but I'll bring it back when it's time to put a finish on it. Hopefully it's still here in one piece and looking great. Have a good night. Finishing up for the night. In full disclosure, that was a chore. That was hours working on that bottom. Here's the top. I'm telling you, I'm wishing I'd just left that recess. Let me show it. I started with this grinding wheel. Super aggressive, so I was very careful. I showed a little bit how I took that down. Then I went over to the drill press and was sanding more with 60 and 80 grit just to finish it, get it down. But that was too aggressive as well. You can see I touched the ends. Thankfully, it still sits flat. It's still good, but I touched the end there, and I forget where else. And so I stopped trying even to get too close to the sides because it was just too aggressive. I drilled use the Forstner bit. That'll be where my little medallion goes. But yeah, I mean, it's just a shit ton of work, a lot of sanding. So I ended up finishing sanding by hand so I can get it as best I could, up to 1,000 grit again. And yeah, I just wanted to show flaws and all. It was a little aggressive, so yeah, right there is where it just was too much on the drill press sanding it. So I did it by hand after that one with the drill, 120 to 1,000. And yeah, so that's a little flaw. You see the resin, but obviously, man, I put it showed on the front too that besides the resin, that's all staining from CA glue. Every time I use it with bowls and stuff, I always put sanding sealer on first, and I did with this too, but I guess because it's end grain, it just doesn't matter. So you see that staining. I'm hoping when I put a finish on this, it'll look a little better than that, but this is gonna fall out. But that's the flaw there and there. Other than that though, it sits well, pretty good. Just ready for a finish sometime tomorrow. Probably put Mahoney's walnut oil on it. Yeah, just wanted to show it. Other than the finish, it's a done deal. I'm glad it held together. It's pretty thin, just over an 1/8 at the very bottom. So it's pretty thin there. 1/2 inch natural edge ring, and then it gets pretty thin down at the bottom. But it held together. Came out good. We'll see what it looks like after I finish. Back tomorrow. Good night. Alright, welcome back to my garage on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Let's finally get some finish on this platter, right? See how it's going to look. And it sure is beautiful wood. It'll soak into that end grain. I'm sure I'll get questions about what I went through with the bottom of removing the bottom of this bowl at the end of a project. It's always the, where you can get a little careless. That last step is always something. It can be a challenge at times. And if you've seen my videos, you know that I do a lot of, I use jam chucks quite often, do a lot of different things to take off the bottoms. The difference is this piece of wood, wow, it's gorgeous. Just love how those colors come through. This piece of wood, well, one, as hard as the branches are, the pine part of it is as soft as can be. But two, it's just an end grain. This platter is all end grain. So with the forces involved of turning and pushing against it, being so thin in the center, and being end grain, I just didn't want to push that up, right? Push that up against anything and have it split. Obviously end grain is so easy to split, and I didn't want that happening, so just put in obviously a ton of time and effort to take it off and adapt, take it off in a different way, and I think it pays off, just to not lose that. Take the risk of losing it and cracking it by splitting it, by putting that pressure, jamming it up against a jam chuck and pushing there. Especially how this species of wood, the pith turns to dust, so you got to fill it with resin. I just couldn't imagine putting that kind of pressure on end grain like that and pushing it and then cracking it at the very end and destroying the piece. So that's why I went about grinding it off and then sanding with the drill press and just taking all that time to go through to remove the bottom. It's either that or just modify the recess and leave a version of it on the bottom, which I didn't want to do with this because this wasn't a bowl. This was more of a platter, so I needed it more spread out. And it's just soaking it up. End grain, even sanding to 1,000, it just soaks it up so quick. You can still kind of see, it did mask a little bit. Like I've talked about it enough. Using on side grain wood, you put a sanding sealer down, then you put your CA glue on, and then you fill any cracks and you don't have any staining. Obviously, live and learn, that wasn't the case when it came to end grain right there, right? And where was that? I had that one little mistake where you can see I kind of took my rim down right there, being a little careless on the drill press. But those two things are on me. Other than that though, this platter came out beautiful. This is 9 inches, just over 9 inches across, by the way. And my inner circle right here is 12 inches across. So you got a very unbalanced live natural edge bowl or platter, but the inside, this inner circle, is exactly 12 inches. Hopefully I'm not even paying attention to the camera. Hopefully this is showing up. I will do a couple coats of Mahoney's walnut oil on this. Wow. God, I love this wood. Third time I've been blessed with turning this species. It presents challenges, but man, is it unique and beautiful. And so worth the effort. I hope it comes across. But yeah, I'll do 2 coats of this, and I'll get the edges too. And then come back in a couple days after that's cured and put the wax on. And I'll bring you back with the final product, but here you can see as it soaks in. It'll soak in more to the pine, but just absolutely beautiful colors. Those branches are phenomenal. I'm not even paying attention. I hope those colors come across. Just absolutely gorgeous. I'll rub this down, soak it in some, bring you back in a few days after the wax has been put on with the final product. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe one last look for today, because it's going to take this oil a couple days to dry before I put the wax on. It's just gorgeous. I hope you can see why I turned so much of this piece away and made a platter out of this time. Like I said, I've done 3 different I've done 3 different versions of this type of wood, and each time it's all been about getting more and more of those branches exposed, like flower petals or flames. Amazing colors in there. So it's been all about, oh, there's a glare from the light. It's all been all about exposing as much of that flame pattern in those branches as possible. So that's the reason why I turned it this way. And you can see there's just enough room to get your fingers underneath, right? Comfortably to lift it. And I showed all the branches as prominently as I could. Anyhow, once again, I'll bring you back with the finished product in a couple days. Take care. All right, welcome back and happy Mother's Day. It's a week later, and I'm finally getting the opportunity to come back and film the end of this video. At least the walnut oils had a lot of time to cure and dry, and the wax I put on after it. But anyhow, here's the finished platter. The walnut oil sure darkened up that pine wood and brought out the colors of the branches. Did a great job, and it also kind of hid those was it the CA glue stains. You can still make them out, but it's not as bad and prominent as they looked before. I had picked a mocha color resin to fill this, but obviously I didn't go dark enough. Would have been better if I just went straight like dark coffee, considering how the walnut oil darkened this wood. But anyhow, here's the finished platter. At its widest point, it's 16 inches. At its narrowest point from here to here, it's 14 inches. But again, this little depression that I made for the platter is exactly 12 inches. Live edge, and you can see it stands, or it's a ½ inch thick there, but it stands exactly 1 3/8 inches high. And at its thinnest point in the middle, it gets down to just over 3/16 inch, not quite a 1/4 inch thick. Let me flip this over. That's why I have the towel underneath, just to protect it so it doesn't get scratched. I sunk in my emblem so I don't have to write on it, but you see how I was able to expose all the branches. I obviously worked the bottom first, so you can see that was the initial focus, and I exposed as much of the branches as I could there, and then blended in the top to match that. The only reason it sits great, the only reason I have this towel on here is so it doesn't accidentally scratch it when I was flipping it over like that for you. But anyhow, here's the finished Brazilian pine platter. Let's bring it out to the sun and see what it does. But it's bright. some chatoyance in those branches. Get a bright reflection from the sun. Let's see, look at those colors. It's a beautiful piece of wood. Third time turning this. Each one was a little bit different. Did it a different way. I'll return this to my cousins, and who knows, this might end up back in Brazil. At least a piece of me will continue on forever in this platter, so I'm happy about that. Anyhow, it was a great project. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out and watching this video, especially if you lasted to the end. Really appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you with the next one.